Okay, now more than 50 participants have already joined, so let us start the session. Others will be joining gradually. AICT, when it started these online FDB programs, they put emphasis on discussion on thrust areas as well as providing some practical hands-on sessions to the participants. So in this view, we tried to accommodate few resource persons so that we can have few hands-on sessions related to AI and ML, particularly uh, related to supervised as well as unsupervised machine learning techniques. Uh, Now, as we see from the response of few participants, few of us we are familiar with the coding and writing the programs pertaining to machine learning, but some of us they are new to this. So, in this regard, in this session, we are making an attempt to make familiar to all the participants uh, for writing the programs or codes related to machine learning. So for this, we have taken the most general type of problem. If you search in Google, all of you can get it. That is the iris dataset. Okay, so some of you must have done it previously as well. But in order to begin machine learning coding, this is a very simple step. So in this session, what we are going to do is we'll be using Google Colab, and we'll try to learn the classification problem. In our last session, what Dr. Devnath emphasized is particularly giving the example of this coronavirus. He what he suggested that when the structure of the coronavirus will be changing, then the antibody or the vaccine what we are using, that may not be suitable. That vaccine, uh, whatever is developed till now, it is for a particular structure of the virus. Now, due to the mutation, when the structure changes, the vaccine should also be changed. So in order to do that, what we need to do, we need to uh, what classify them. Okay, so for that purpose, today we are trying to uh, take a classification problem that is the most fundamental type, taking the iris dataset, where there will be three different types of flowers, and we'll extract the features of each flower. Then we'll try to write some fundamental or basic programming or codes. Okay, taking the standard libraries from Python. Then we'll try to train it, test it. Okay, we have already done few programming that is related to regression. Okay, so in order to carry forward this session, today we have uh, Mr. Venkat Sainath, soon going to be Dr. Venkat Sainath. So he is a research scholar in IIT Kharagpur, and also currently he is working as assistant professor in GIT Gunupur. So we have been associated for the last 1.5 years. So Sainath, good afternoon.
Very good afternoon, sir. Sir, is my voice audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Yeah.
So from now onwards, can you please what take over this session and do the proceedings? I have already introduced you to the participants,
Yes, sir,
so
thank you.
you can start the session. I request
Yes.
you to start the session.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for providing this opportunity. I'll start the session. Okay. So, yeah. Maybe. Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Good afternoon.
Yeah, so my voice is clearly audible to all of you.
Yes,
isn't
yes,
it?
you are clear
Yes,
and loud.
yes.
Yeah, so like So as sir has already introduced the problem, so let's directly go to the code. Okay. And I want you
No, sir. I have not I have not informed them regarding the problem in detail.
Okay.
Just given a background of it. So actually, my objective is to make familiar few of the participants. They are not familiar with the writing the program and coding part. So it will be better if you start defining the problem itself. Then go ahead.
No, sure, sir. Sure, I'll do that. Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, fine then. So, yeah. Again, as sir has said, I will discuss the problem. And mostly this will be like a hands-on session. So I won't go to the mathematical details or the theory behind the different algorithms. So just a rough overview, like once you have a problem, how can we use the existing tools and techniques, specifically Python, scikit-learn library, SCIKAT, scikit-learn, scikit-learn, and as well as Google Colab. So how can you use these two things to get things done in a very simple way that slowly we are going to do today. And I request all of you like to write the code. Please open Google Colab and also you type the code. The code will not be long, but we need to understand each and every statement. And I want all of you to type it.
Yes,
Okay?
and one thing I would like to mention here, all the participants will be writing few codes and will be getting some values, means like during testing and planning and testing, efficiency, R square value, those things. So whenever you are asked, please try to respond. Put it in the chat box so that will be will understand that everything is clear to you. So it is like a test. Okay. So all of you please try to get involved and try to do it by yourself, and please respond in the chat box. Whatever answer you are getting by doing yourself, you respond or you put it in the chat box. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thanks. Okay, so let's continue. I'm sure you can see the slides. Okay. So the problem that we're trying to address right now is we have three kinds of flowers. Okay. In this figure, you can see they almost look similar, maybe bluish and whitish, right? So slightly, but these are three different kinds of flowers: Iris versicolor, Iris setosa, and Iris virginica. So what we like, as you know, all of the basics, we have the data set of initial flowers, say 150 flowers. And now the problem is that when a new flower comes, we automatically want to categorize into one of these class. Either it can be Iris versicolor, Iris setosa, Iris virginica. So that is like in a very simple language our problem. So we have our data set. We know that, okay, Iris versicolor, we have 50 such kinds of flowers. Similarly, Iris setosa also, we have 50 kinds of flowers. I have seen it with my naked eye. And Iris virginica, I have seen 50 flowers. Okay, now with this experience, and when a new flower comes, I want it to be automatically classified into a particular category. So, like as you can see, these are images, okay? And now we have 50 images. So we can consider this thing as a image classification problem. Initially, we can consider whatever, I hope you can see my screen. So image classification problem. So what is that? My input is image of a flower. Okay. And all I wanted to know is that you give me a new flower. I just wanted to know whether it belongs to either Iris setosa, Iris versicolor, Iris virginica. So to which category this flower belongs to or a new flower belongs to, I would like to make a model or a black box or a function. Okay. So I wanted to make that kind of develop a model which will put me this flower into either one of the category. So in image processing, if you take image as an input, we can have lots and lots of classical features. So if you have some idea of image processing, we have something called Harlech texture features, Harlech texture features, or hue moments. And not only that, Jernick moments, or Fourier transform coefficient, or wavelet transform coefficient. So many things can be done, so many things. But what we assume is that we will not consider all those image processing features. We assume that from the image of a flower, or if possible, physically by taking the flower, we are extracting 4 features of the flower. And
Sir,
what are those? Yeah, please tell me.
yeah, I couldn't understand what you have written, Hurlick or testing features that you have mentioned in Paint. Yeah. Each.
HARALICK, Haralick features, texture
Okay.
features.
Okay. And in the next.
ZERNIK, Jernic features, Jernic moments, in fact. Actually, these are not required. I just wanted to give you a rough overview. That is why I'm not emphasizing. Anyhow,
Okay.
so these are dealt in image processing. Okay, these are dealt in the image processing. Like some values you will get out of the image, which is unstructured data. But we are not going to deal in that manner, at least in this session. The next section also we won't deal it. But this is the natural process. Okay, it is possible to go like this. But what we are doing is that instead of extracting features from the image, so in our data set, what we have is that we have the sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, which are easy to interpret and also easy to compute. Okay, so you can see the sepal and petal. So generally these petal ones, they are like, suppose you take a rose, petals are the ones which will attract our eyes, generally good looking. And sepals are generally, not in this case, they are greenish in color and they support the flower. Okay. So petals are the beautiful ones which attract the sepals. Our features for this image or for the flowers are sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. So before like do anything, apply algorithm, apply so much of pre-processing, all those things, it is extremely important that we understand what is our data, how it has been collected, and what are the some of the assumptions made during data collection. Many things need to be considered, and that is the most important part rather than applying the algorithms. But for simplicity, here we take the data readily from the sklearn library, scikit-learn library. So now we have these 3 kinds of flowers. Just so let's have a look at this data. As I told you, we have 150 flowers, 50 of each category. So we have 3 categories, 50 into 3, that is equal to 150. And for every flower, we are computing these things: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. So from the image, you can see what is a sepal and a petal. You can get some idea. As I told you, okay, sepals are here, they are maybe generally like larger, and they are at the bottom, something like this you can see. So, and again, this is our assumption that these features will give us enough information to classify a flower. It is possible we can extract some of the features, maybe smell, or maybe some infrared like spectroscopy. Many things are possible, but although this in the whole machine learning field, the skill of a machine learning engineer or data scientist comes in extracting features from the data. That is why I'm spending too much time in the beginning. Are you understanding? The programming is a relatively easy task. Once you have a data, what features to extract is the most challenging and is the most skillful task. And our assumption is here is that 4 features which are taken from this flower, sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, they are strong enough, okay, to discriminate the category of a flower. Okay. So let's go to the data set. And once we have this data set, please observe this. We have 150 flowers, 50 in each category, 4 features, and these are the dimensions. In centimeters, all the values are in centimeters, and we have 3 categories. Okay, so this is the data. Now, without again, as I said, before we go for further programming, some descriptive statistics. What is the minimum value of each feature? What is the maximum value? If possible, you can make a box plot also to find the outliers. Some pre-processing has to be done in general. There are some outliers, you remove them. There are some missing values, you use some algorithms to replace those missing values. All those things needs to be done. But here, this is a very no missing values are there. Okay. And all this information, very simple. 150 is very small number. Okay. So we're extracting few things: mean, max, maximum value, mean, standard deviation, correlation between each value and the class, the category. Okay. Pearson correlation coefficient. I'll not go to what is the Pearson correlation coefficient. So if you are aware of correlation coefficient, that is covariance by standard deviation of x and standard deviation of y. Anyhow, so this is the general flow how we do this. Now, without further theoretical description, I want all of you to open Google Colab. So I hope some of you know Google Colab. If you do not know, Simply type collab.research.google.com. Just open it, and you need to be signed into obviously Gmail account, okay, to log into this. Please open Google Colab notebook, collab.research.google.com. Okay, I will put this link in the chat box if you are new to it. How many of you are already familiar with Google Colab? Please let me know.
No, we have already opened it, but I don't know how to work on this.
Yeah, that is fine. Okay, at least okay, you have already opened it.
No,
I have
already
pasted the link in the chat. You can click on that, and if you are unfamiliar, it will you can click on new notebook. Okay, so maybe I will run along with you. That will be helpful. Actually, the whatever we are
where,
supposed. What happened?
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
click
please.
at new notebook.
Yeah, you click on the new notebook, you will get something like this, untitled.ipynb. Okay, so Google Colab, yeah, if you are not having a good like powerful system like 16 GB RAM and 2 GB RAM, everything we can do here. We can use GPU also, and lots of TPU support is also available. And the best thing is that we do not install so many standard libraries, especially the scikit-learn and as well as the TensorFlow Keras. Okay, many standard libraries which are used in this deep learning, solving deep learning problems. So you need not even install them; they're automatically installed at the back end. So now once you open this, so please follow the instructions, and through by solving the program, you will be able to understand. First, the standard thing. Let's import some libraries. The NumPy is sufficient for the time being. Import NumPy as NP. Please type it. Okay.
At any point of time, if you are unable to follow the steps, you please unmute and interrupt. No
Yeah,
problem.
you can interrupt. So very few lines are there, and we have enough time. So I request all of you to type as many lines as possible. Please type this import NumPy as NP, and then click on this button. Okay. If you click on this button, it will automatically get connected. Okay. You copy import NumPy as NP. Okay, and then click on this. It will run. It will show 0 seconds. It will also show here. You can see. Okay. Here it like in my screen. So the RAM and the display that has been used 0.7 GB out of 12.69 GB, and as well as the memory also, everything has been displayed. So
No, after typing import numpy as np,
yeah,
then where we have to click?
there is a button just here, this play button. You can click on the play button, or after putting the cursor here, you can click shift and enter, shift plus enter directly. Shift plus enter, or click on this button. Okay, let me click on it again. I have clicked it again, it is running again.
Okay.
Hello, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, can some of you please type how many of you are handling Google Colab for the first time? Please type in the chat box. How many of you are handling Google Colab for the first time? Please type in the chat box. Accordingly, I have to put please first time. Okay. Yeah, please don't hesitate. Please type in the chat box so that accordingly slowly we will go. Fine then like at least more 7 people have responded. So we'll go maybe a bit slow. Okay. So import NumPy as NP. Okay. After this we click, automatically another cell will come and we have to write further commands here. Okay. So yeah, please just let's have a look at what is the steps, like what are the methodologies that we need to follow. Quickly in a 5 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, I will roughly go through them. Again, we'll come back and you are going to copy the commands and then type it in the Google Colab and run them. Okay. The first step is that like we need to import so many libraries. So for this problem, maybe NumPy is sufficient. Okay, and also scikit-learn. Depending on other cases, if you are using images, maybe Pillow or scikit-image or OpenCV, many other libraries are required. Okay, so you can even run fuzzy logic algorithms also. The first step is in general, if you look at any program, you have to import lots and lots of libraries. And for plotting, and some of you might have used MATLAB. If you want high quality publishing figures, you can go for this matplotlib. Okay, so you can import that also, and so that is the first step. You import all the necessary libraries.
We'll
required.
enter it. We'll enter it. Import matplotlib.
Yeah, you can do, but in our session we are not going to plot anything. You can do
Okay.
it. We are not going to plot. You can import it. Nothing wrong will happen. You can import it. So this is the first step. After that, what we are going to do is that most people, especially the newcomers, they face like challenge in importing the data. Forget about the algorithm. I have the data in Excel sheet .csv file in my desktop. How do I put it in the Google Colab? How do I call it? So that is the very for a newcomer, it's a really difficult task. And for that, and it will take even some 20 minutes time also for everyone to do it. For that, what we do, there is a library called scikit-learn library. So let me show that library. Extremely powerful, standard library, scikit-learn. Extremely powerful and very simple.
What is the website, sir?
Hello? Scikit-learn. Standard, it is a standard thing in the machine learning field using Python. Scikit-learn.org stable. Okay. So almost all the standard algorithms are available. And if you are switching from MATLAB or some other Java to here, so this is the standard number one. I'm typing it number one website or the library you should go to. Everything is available. It can be classification, regression, clustering, model selection. Many things are really available. Figures are available. Code is available. Everything is available here. So today we are going to apply this solve this classification problem using this library scikit-learn. Okay. So I won't give an introduction to scikit-learn. We're going to import this library and use some of the inbuilt functions directly. Okay. So yeah, and fortunately in scikit-learn or even in Keras, already some standard datasets are available. As I told you, the most difficult problem in machine learning is collecting the data, labeling the data, reprocessing the data. This is the most difficult and the most important task. So for our illustration purpose, we are going to use the scikit-learn library, and so many data sets are available here already. We have toy data sets, so many. Gaussian house price data set, iris plants data set, and diabetes data set. Many data sets are available. So for today's example illustration, we are going to look into the iris plants or iris flower data set. So we will not do anything within just two lines.
Sir, iris plant data set is also available in Scikit.
Yeah, it is available. We are looking at scikit-learn only.
Okay, dataset. Where did you load it? That dataset loading utilities.
Hello, what are you saying?
No, sir. I asked this. This iris data is also available in scikit-learn.
Yeah, it is available. It is readily available. Yes.
Okay. From where we can get?
Yeah, just wait for a couple 1-2 minutes. I'll show you that.
Okay.
Okay, just 2 minutes. With these 2 lines of code, again we'll come back to the coding a while. Just hold on. With these 2 lines of code from sklearn, we are importing data sets, and among so many data sets, if you use this load iris, okay, if you call this, if you create this instance if you write this load iris, you are going to get all your data in this variable. Okay, so classes and objects, we are importing the class, we are creating an instance of the class, all those things. We don't need to look into all those things. With these 2 lines, one of you raised the question, how are you going to get the data? With these just 2 lines, the data is already on your system in the Google Colab. Okay, we will see that. So we will get the data, we look into what is our input, what is our output. That is we have to spend some time on it. And after that, just quickly I'm going, you have to divide the data into 2 parts, training and testing. So which you must have already listened so many times in so many lectures. And again, using a simple directive, we are going to import one function from scikit-learn directly. And using that, then we are going to split the data into 2 parts, training and testing. Okay, maybe 80%, 20%, 80% training data, 20% testing data.
One thing. Can I request?
Yeah, please.
Since many of us are the first time user, please go slow.
Okay,
Because what we could see, what I
please.
could see, you have already written the, comments in a notepad, and you are copying it, and you can paste it in the this Colab. But we have to type it. That takes
Uh,
time. So
yeah.
from your notepad, we have to see and we have to type
No,
it.
no, no. See, please understand. First, I will give you. There are only 6 to 7 steps, and in
Mhm.
5 to 7 minutes, I will give a rough overview, and will
Okay.
again come back to step 1. I will give you
Okay.
there enough time, and
Okay.
I will ask you whether
Sure.
you have
Sure.
typed or
Then it's
not, whether you
fine.
got it or not.
Then it's fine.
I'll understand it.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll come back again, but if some people like they want to know what they are going to do, that is why I'm giving a rough
Exactly.
overview of the whole. The PPT is
Yes.
also only 18 PPTs, okay, 18 slides. So
Okay.
no need to worry. Very small program. We are going to look into each and every statement, and you will get enough time. Don't worry, please don't worry. But at least the theoretical part. Once we have the
Yes.
data, we need to split into 2 parts, and that we are going to do in the step 3. That is what I want you to understand. That's it. The code will come back again. Okay. So from sklearn, we are using some function. We are splitting it into training and testing data. Okay, that is step 3. After that, so since here the dimensions are in centimeters. Suppose if they are in meters or in kilometers, or if there is a significant variation in the input variables, then obviously we normalize the data. We are using one such type of normalization. So this is pre-processing. So that is the standard scalar. I'll come to everything again. The whole session is dedicated for understanding this code only. No theory, no mathematics, okay? Nothing. So the normalization we are going to do. After that, okay, we are simply going to call our classifier, whatever you like. Maybe K nearest neighbor classifier, easy to understand. Or logistic regression classifier. If you heard of it, support vector machines, or even ANN, you just call it within just one line. You call any classifier you want, and then you put some arguments. You instantiate this classifier, and simply dot fit using this function. We are going to do the training. Again, we are going to come back to the code. Don't worry, please don't worry. So that is the training the model, and that's it. And we are almost done. The program is done. The fundamental aspects and whatever the model has been developed, the black box, okay, we are going to use it to predict on in the new data, on the testing data. And you know the actual label, and you know the prediction also. Now you will compare if they are matching, 1 and 1 are matching, yeah, then you count it as a +1 accuracy. If they're not matching, you count.
Whatever you write after putting hashtag, that become the comment.
Yeah, that is for the comment. Yeah, hashtag.
Okay.
That is for the comment. We're going to the code. Just one more slide. That's it. Just hold on. After that, we need to this is nothing but printing. Just printing using the accuracy. Just matching 1 and 0, whether they are matching or not. We will count them based on that. How much percentage 1 and 0, 1, 2 they have matched. We are going to print the accuracy score, and that is the code. 7 steps, hardly 7 to 321, or even 17 to 18 lines of code. Okay, so that we are going to do now, and that's it. And once you run the code, once you get some results, and once you print, if the time permits, then we will discuss few more things. Okay, but only the 7 steps are that we are going to do. Fine. So first one, importing libraries. I hope import NumPy as NP. The first step is over. Okay, so import NumPy as NP. The first step is over.
Right.
For some of you, just wait. Actually, the whole program with some other things I also have already run. For some of you who are in a hurry, for the first time users, if you want to run it, or if you want to have a look at the whole code in one go, I have shared it in the chart box. Please click on that. Let it be there for you as a reference. If you're not fast enough to type, or if you have some issue, or if you're using mobile, okay, you can use that link to know what is the program. Please click on that link and have a look. Hello?
Yes, sir.
So if you click on the link, you should be able to access it. The sharing permission has been given. So, and if you think typing everything is taking time, the corresponding code you can copy. Okay. Suppose in my case, just have a look at code. or you can type. I will give you enough time to type also. Suppose the first is the importing libraries. Control C, Control V, okay, and then you can click on this play button or shift and enter. Shift plus enter you can click on. Done. Maybe this may be easy for all of you. If you want to type and want to feel confident, you can also type. You will have enough time. The first step is done. We have imported the libraries. Okay. The second step is that, as I told you, in scikit-learn, the datasets are already available. From sklearn, this one you have to type. From sklearn, import datasets. From sklearn, import datasets.
Right.
So you are importing all the datasets, and among the multiple datasets available, we are looking into only one specific dataset, load_iris. So with this second line, you are getting the iris dataset available in the scikit-learn library. So you can copy, you can type, or since I gave you the link, you can copy them in a bulk and then run, or copy line by line according to your wish and comfort. I'm running it again. Please look into that. From sklearn import datasets. We are importing the datasets. So many datasets are available. And here load_iris. Okay. And it is not necessary that you have to copy everything in one go. Line by line you can copy, and then line by line you can execute. No issues.
Yes, sir. We are doing that.
Step 2. Line by line you can copy or you can type, and then line by line you can run. No need to copy them in the wholesale content in one go. And once this iris, if you type this iris equal to datasets.load_iris, okay. So you can just type iris and then click this button, play button, or shift and enter you can type.
Okay.
You can
What
simply
is
follow.
the, sir,
you
what
can
is the
simply-
interpretation? X is
What?
equal to iris data and y is equal to iris target.
Yeah, I will discuss. Just hold on. Let see whatever the small code is available, everything will be discussed in detail. Just wait for a while. Just to try to follow me. Just observe what is going on. Everything will be discussed. Each and every line of the code will be discussed for the shoot. All of you, yeah, please respond occasionally. So after this, you type iris, and then click on shift and enter or play button. You will get all this information. Can you see this? Hello? Of course, you can see
Yes.
the yeah.
Yes, we can say. Yeah.
Yeah, and are you getting the same thing? Like if you run iris, and you should be also getting the same thing, isn't it?
Just checking.
In
Yeah.
Google Colab,
How
First-
to run? How to run?
just click on this play button or type shift and enter. Click on the play button or shift and enter,
Yeah, same data.
and make sure that before you run iris, the above lines of these lines have to be run. Only then you have to run this.
Yes, I did.
Okay, very simple. If you are not comfortable in typing, just copy the content from the link I shared and then follow it. So you can see lots of description is available. Whatever the information we need to know about the iris, everything is available here. Okay. So to look it into in a better way, so what I can do, so this iris.description, Control C. I'm again running it. Please type print iris.descr. Please type it and click on the play button or shift and enter.
Venkat sir.
Hello? Yeah, please. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So whatever you have, your file shows in shape 2 with remark importing data set from sklearn import data sets. So individual lines, we have to enter in individual rows there.
No, individually it is not required. You can copy,
select. We can
you can
select the
select
whole.
all the lines or one line or two lines. The whole line has to be copied. That's it. Not okay.
Okay.
Or you can, whatever I'm doing, you can see and you can do that same thing for simplicity. But whatever I'm typing or whatever is going on, you can see that now I have typed this print iris.descr. You can just write that and then click on this play button or shift and enter. Hello,
Yes, sir.
you can just print iris.dscr description
Iris
dot dscr.
DSCR.
Yeah, if you run, you should be getting some whatever the information we have seen in the PDF, that you should be able
Then
to
we'll
get it.
iris.DSCR. Then we'll play the.
Yeah, you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
It is there already. You can see that. You just click and you will get some information.
Petal length.
Yeah, if you are getting some information,
Cephaloid.
so, yeah,
This
many
information.
many information is available. Like
But
where
not
this,
in a very structured way. It's coming. It seems very haphazard manner. It comes.
is it looking the same way like in my on my screen or something different?
Something different, sir.
No, you have to click print. Print option has to be used. Then it will be good. Like it will be better.
Print option. No, where we can see the print option.
Correct. Can you see my screen? Can you please look at my screen? Print in the parentheses you put iris.dscr.
Okay. Print. Okay, sir.
Hello. Yeah. So
1 minute, sir. 1 minute.
okay, fine. For some of you who already are acquainted with scikit-learn, you can go to the other codes and then execute or understand.
Yes. Now it comes.
Okay. So now you can get more information, some references, everything. So if you want to know about any data set, so if you like this .dscr, you will get some information. Okay. Now,
Sir, how to stop a running cell? Is there any option? Suppose we are getting some error or we want to make a correction.
see, if you want to delete,
Like
look at the screen.
the delete option is fine. I suppose there is a cell running, but I want to stop the execution.
See,
Control M.
This is what I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So yeah, this is about the data. Now we have lots and lots of information in this iris. Okay. Not only the input and the output, some metadata, the information data is also present. So at the end, when we give as some input like training model, all we want is the numerical values. So from this information, we just want our inputs. So what is our input? As I told you, for every flower, let me show it on the screen.
Sir, some references are also coming.
See, this is the metadata. Let it be there. Let's not worry about all these things.
Okay.
See, here the purpose is to show you in the scikit-learn library what information you can get.
Some descriptive statistics it is showing.
Yeah, all those things will come. That is the metadata. The whole information about the data you will get. From that iris, we want the we want at the end the input, the numerical values.
Right.
What is our input? So the whole supervised machine learning can be simply put as a mapping between input and output, isn't it? So we have some data here: x1, x2, x3, x4, sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and our output it can be 0 or 1 or 2. Okay, like 0 corresponds to one category of a flower, Cyclosa, versicolor, virginica. So we have this data. Okay, and how many flowers we have? We have 150 flowers. We have 150 flowers. For each flower, we have 4 values. So our input data is nothing but, as you can see, for every flower we have 4 features, and we have 150 flowers, and now we have 150 by 4, our input matrix is nothing but 150 by 4 numerical values. And the units of these things are in centimeters, sepal length, sepal width, all those things. This is my input data. And what is my output data? Corresponding to each flower, I know which category the flower belongs to. Maybe Setosa or versicolor or virginica, as and so on. Okay. So that is my corresponding output. A discrete unordered value. Okay. It is an input output modeling. But these 0, 1,
Sir,
2.
one thing comes here. The three type of flowers, that is iris versicolor and iris setosa and iris virginica. These are all. This categorization has been done basing upon the physical dimension of the flower.
See, suppose you have a rose flower and there's a name.
Because whatever programming we have done, so it classifies all 150 flowers into three categories of flower: iris versicolor, iris setosa, and iris virginica. These are the three different categorizations it is doing to all 150 flowers, isn't it? As you explained.
See, yeah, we have 150 flowers, and those flowers belong to three categories. That is the
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
And
Okay.
now we have extracted some features, assuming that they will help us in discriminating them.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes. To some extent.
Okay. Fine then. So yeah, and coming from like numbers, like mathematically, so we have this data 150 by 4. That is our input matrix, input data, and the output is nothing but corresponding to every flower we have either 0 or 1 or 2, because one flower belongs to only one category, and 150 flowers are there, so it is 150 rows and one column, 150 by 1. So mathematically, at the end, what we want is that you give me this 150 by 4, the input matrix X, and the output matrix Y. And all I am trying to do is that y as a function of x. I am trying to find a mathematical model, a function, a mapping, a transformation, which will fit appropriately with respect to some model performance measures, which we'll discuss later. Okay, this is our problem. We are trying to find that mapping function. And now, so we have to call this input data directly, 150 by 4, and also the input x and the output y. We are going to get in just one line, and that is what is shown here. Please type it. Capital X is equal to iris dot data. This data indicates the 4 features of every flower. Please type this thing. X is equal to iris dot data. You please type it.
X is
I'm
equal
also
to
typing
iris data.
X is equal to iris dot data. And then after this, click on the run the cell by shift and enter or clicking on this button. And once you do, simply print capital X. Just print these values and you will see all the values. Can you see the values?
No, sir, we have
Please
not
do
yet
it.
done.
Please do it on your Google Colab.
Sir, one thing. So after entering print iris.dscr, so it's showing a lot of descriptive statistics and metadata. Then where the next command is to be entered?
See, once you run this, automatically another thing will come. Another cell will be opened automatically.
No, it's not opening.
If it doesn't come, you can just click on this plus code. You just look at my screen. You can click on this plus code, or you can click on here, come down and click on plus code. Or hello, you can look here, please. There is a plus code option here. You can click on. You can click there also.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Automatically
Yes,
it will
yes.
come. If it doesn't come, you can click on plus code,
Yes,
or
sir.
you can
Yes,
click
sir.
here.
Yes, sir.
And x equal to iris.data.
X
After
is
that,
equal to iris.data.
dot data. And now let us see what x indicates. What is information stored in this variable x? And you will see
Is it case sensitive? Is it the coding is case sensitive?
Yeah, it is case sensitive.
Okay.
I'm using capital X. You can use anything, but you have to follow the same case. Yeah, all of you are following, please respond, because so x equal to iris dot data print x. After that, okay. So, and if you want to look at the dimension of this, so print x. This is all our input data, 150 rows and 4 columns. If you wanted to know its dimension, we can simply check x dot shape. Print x dot shape. We will see how many values are there. That is 150 by 4. 150 rows and 4 columns. Is it clear?
Markets are we are doing.
Okay, please do that. Print x and then
It's
print
showing
x.
some error to showing. 1 minute, sir. It's showing
First,
some
you have to
error.
run x equal to iris dot data and then print x.
Is there any space after equal to?
No, it's not compulsory. If you put it, doesn't put space is not important. And after this is the input, x
Yes.
equal to iris dot data. The output also we can get in one line, that is y equal to
Iris
Iris.
the target.
target. And again, if you want to look at the
Another line.
another line, you can put in the same. You can put in the same line also. It's up to you. After that, print y. You can look at the values. 0, 0, 0, 1, 2. Okay. All these values will be 150 values. 150 by 1. So if you do this much, then like in real life, when you have the data on your system, if you import it onto Google Colab or even a Jupyter Notebook or a Spider or some other thing, okay, IDE, then
Sir, after giving 1 minute, sir, after giving the print command, it is showing only the series of zeros, 1 and 2.
yeah, exactly. What is this target values? They are nothing but first flower corresponds to 0 category.
Whether a particular flower out of 150 flower, whether they belongs to 0 category, 1 category or 2 category.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Okay.
And data is in such a way that the first 50 belong to first category, the next 50 to second category, third 50 corresponds to the next 50 corresponds to the third category.
Okay.
That is the input and output data. I think it is you can see it on the screen, so it should be clear.
Alright.
So till this much, importing the data set, and then x and y, our input and our output. X is the capital X is the input, small y is the output. Till these 4 lines are declared to everyone, very simple. Data set is available already inside. That is why the things are become very simple. So this is our input and this is our output. Capital X and then small y. So step 2 is step 2 finished. All of you are executing it.
Yes.
Sir, one thing.
Yeah, please tell me.
This particular small coding classify 150 different flowers into 3 different classes, categories.
Yeah.
But where we have defined what is the 0 category, what is the 1 category, and what is the 2 category. We
Yeah.
have not. How we given the specification for category 0, 1, 2.
Yeah, that is as I said, that is the data collection. That is the that comes on the data collection and the labeling part. It is already been decided that the 0 corresponds to, if you go to here, you can give any value, iris setosa, 1 corresponds to iris versicolor, 2 corresponds to Anis virginica.
Okay, okay.
Some label we are giving. So you have a box and you are
Okay,
putting some
okay.
label on the box. That's it. The
Okay,
order doesn't matter.
okay, sir.
Is it clear? Hello?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
You can put any values, doesn't matter. And somebody was asking to step 1 and step 2 again. I think Shipra Jain. Okay. See, I have already shared the whole code with you. Step 1, you can simply copy, import NumPy as NP. That is the only line required. And step 2, you have been discussing till now. So it will be helpful whenever you get stuck or you couldn't able to follow for some reason. Simply copy that and run it. First copy these 2 lines and then run. Next copy these 2 lines and then run. And from then onwards, you follow what is going on in the session. That will be helpful. Okay. And very simple.
Sir, one doubt is coming.
Yeah, please tell me, sir.
Sir, whatever coding we have written, it is showing untitled 0 IPYNB. What does it mean? It is untitled file, of course. And what does this extension source? It is a Python file or what?
See, IPYNB indicates IPython notebook. Okay. So
Please repeat, sir.
IPython notebook. Okay.
IPython notebook.
IPython notebook and IPython is a standard. Maybe I should introduce myself also because see, IPython notebook is a standard thing. Okay. Like even I'm not much into. Let me tell you one thing. Although I understand most of the things I am working on, so I have done my BTech in manufacturing science and engineering. Okay. And
Okay.
MTech in English engineering and management, which together combines production engineering, the department which is organizing this FD. So I am not much into the details
No,
of the
it's
code.
fine. It's fine. Absolutely, absolutely.
No. I'm just
Every day we are learning something new in this FTP. So that's the out of curiosity only I asked.
No. That is good. No, I'm just I just wanted to understand that I am from production engineering background. That is what I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Okay,
But still, I will address all your queries.
Yeah,
I have enough
definitely.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nice of you.
Okay, that is sufficient. And coming to this untitled file, you can give a name.
How can
Maybe
you give the name?
you can just click on it and then say like first
We
class
can-
on Google Colab. You can just type there.
We can
First
write
class-
anything. We
You
can
can
write
write
anything.
anything. You can give any name, first session or first class in Google Colab or something, anything you can write. Or machine learning or Iris dataset, anything, whatever you want, you can write and it will be automatically saved.
Okay. Sir, another question. Neither we have created any login ID or password. So if we save it, where it will save?
Very good question. See, here since you are already logged into the Google Meet, okay. So
Okay.
if you since this Google Colab requires authentication into the Gmail account. So
Okay.
since it is already there, you are able to open it automatically.
Okay.
And if you wanted to know where this is available, and if you open your drive, there is a
Open
separate
our-
folder. If you open your drive, there is a separate automatically there is a separate folder called Google Colab Notebooks. Let me show you.
Okay.
that.
Okay.
There
So
is a note-
automatically a folder must
Colab
have created
notebooks.
in our Google Drive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is created. I'm using it will be created automatically. There, if you click on it, will be automatically saved.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it. And regarding these first 2 steps, all of you are comfortable with the data, right? You have taken the data set from the scikit-learn library. And let me also tell you, this scikit-learn library is automatically installed at the back end of the Google Colab. In real life, you have to import it onto your own system. Then only you can access these commands. Anyhow, so after that, the step 2 is over. I hope till step 2 everything is clear. We are importing data sets. We know what is our input X and what is our Y. We know the dimensions also. The next step is that we have to split the data. So these words are very common and you must know. We are splitting the data into training and testing. Okay? 80% and 20%, 90% and 10%, and so on. So more
So here-
specific. Yeah, please.
So here you have classified 20% for testing and 80% for training.
Yeah, exactly. Just randomly, you can take any value, doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can take any value, and in order to do the splitting, okay. So if you want to get some clarity, what is the splitting? So let me show you mathematically or from matrix point of view, what is the splitting? So we have our capital X, my capital X is equal to 150 by 4 and my small y is equal to 150 by 1. Capital X is the input data and y is the target values. And splitting this X into two parts, X train, comma, X test. So X train will have, there are 150 flowers, right? It will have 120 flowers, 120 by 4. And X test will be rest of the flowers, 30 by 4. Are you getting? So I'm
Right.
splitting my training data into X train 120 by 4 and X test 30 by 4. And the corresponding, similarly, the Y also will be split into Y train and then Y test. Corresponding to these 120 flowers, I will have this Y train 120 by 1. Corresponding to this X test, I will have this Y test 30 by 1. Okay, so from X and Y, I have got 4 new matrices. X train, X test, Y train, Y test. I need to split like this. And this thing is done in just by one line. That's it. And that also we are borrowing from the scikit-learn.
Okay.
From sklearn.model selection, import train test split. This class, this function, okay, train test split. It will take the capital X and Y as the input and the Y like the output as the input as the arguments, and then also the percentage of splitting, and that's it. It will give the 4 matrices: X train, X test, Y train, Y test, and this thing has been already shared with you. Here, step 3. Should I zoom in a bit? Maybe that will be helpful.
Sir, here in your PPT, random underscore state equal to none and stratify equal to none. These two are there. So may I know the reason for this?
See, actually for everything, there are so many arguments, so many. So let me just click on one thing. Suppose let me click on the logistic regression. Okay. If you look at logistic regression, we hardly in practice only use 1 or 2 variables. Okay. Penalty and then C and like this. But there are so many arguments which can be tuned, which can be put random state, many class weight, and job. So many things are there. So, and this is not there. Like if you go in that way, it will take too long for us. Okay. I mean, but at least here I will explain. The random state is that the initial data, the 150 flowers which we have, they can be shuffled. Are you understanding?
Yes.
They can be shuffled so that then there can be more homogeneity in the data set. You can shuffle them like the flowers. You can shuffle them and then take out as many as you want. So that is indicated by the random state. And stratify indicates the proportion of the data set, the proportion of the flowers in each class. In our case, what happened? All the 50-50 are of like they have the same weightage, same number of category. It may happen that in some other data sets, there can be something called class imbalance problem. Are you aware of that problem? Class imbalance problem?
No, I'm not. I have never heard.
Suppose the class imbalance problem is, suppose in one category you have more data compared to the other category. Very simple. Are you understanding?
Yes, yes.
Suppose I want to identify whether a person is affected with COVID or not. And I have lots of data sets, say 150 crore data set. In 150 crores, maybe like 20 lakhs or maybe, I don't know, randomly I'm choosing. 1 crore people are, let's say, COVID positive. The rest 149 are like COVID negative. It is an imbalance problem. 149 is too high and 1 crore is like very less from a data point of view. Are you understanding?
But
Yes.
that could be possible, no? But that could be possible.
No, that could be possible. In class imbalance is a straightforward problem, and there are ways to tackle it. There are measures, and all those things we cannot discuss now. Are you understanding?
Yes, yes.
In such cases, when there is a class imbalance problem, then you input the stratify equal to yes.
Okay.
Because what happens? Suppose take like this: 149 crore people are like COVID negative, and 1 crore are positive. Now, if I randomly take, say, again, if I randomly choose people, I will be biased towards the data which are like COVID negative. Are you understanding? If I randomly
Yes,
choose
sir,
people
now.
for if I randomly choose people for my analysis for testing the data set, what will happen? More number of people will be there who are COVID negative. I will not have enough people like who are COVID positive to check my model. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So
Yeah, yes, it's clear.
I have to ensure that there will be some data. There will be some people with COVID positive. Then only my model predictions and all those things will be meaningful. So in such scenarios, to maintain the proportion, that stratify command can be used. Stratify is equal to true can be used. So like this, there will be so many arguments will be there, and right now let's not go through all of them. So let's simply use the small. You can take none, or you can skip it. Okay. Just hold on. Yeah, please. Now we are trying to split the data. The third step, very important and very
Sir, one
fundamental step.
second. Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
I could not hear. Actually, stratify is for what?
Okay, let me write it on the stratify. It's an important thing, so I'm discussing stratify. See, suppose the total data I have is 150 crores. Okay, positive, COVID positive or some disease, may not be COVID, some disease, maybe diabetes or I don't know. Okay, 1 crore. Negative is 149 crore. Okay, I have developed a model. It will take some data set, some test, some medical test, some blood test, and these tests I do not know. Some tests, some inputs it will take, and it will tell me whether the person is what, whether he is a positive, disease positive, or disease negative. He will say that model is going to predict. Now, please understand, this is positive and this is negative. 150 crores is the whole data I have. And now the model performance is measured based on the testing data. This much you know, isn't it? The model performance, if I want to comment which model or which vaccine is good, I have to check some testing data for whose the Y values and the Y prediction values are already known, and then I have to compare. Anyhow, not to check the accuracy of the model, the performance measure, so I have to read on the testing data. Out of this 150 crore, I have to randomly choose say 50 lakhs. Are you understanding? To check my model is good enough or not, I have to choose 50 lakhs. I have decided that I will take 50 lakhs patients' data. Now, if I blindly choose randomly, then what will happen? It may happen that out of 50 lakhs, 49.5 lakhs or 49 lakhs may be directly from the maybe directly from this 149 crore people. Are you understanding what I'm trying to convey? Hello? For
Yes, sir. Yes,
for
sir.
testing my vaccine or testing my data, I'm randomly picking 50 lakhs. So when I'm randomly picking, say if it is uniform probability, then more people will come from this 149 crore. So more data will likely come from this negative class. Very less data will come from this positive class. There is only 1 crore of people or 1 crore of data is available here. Are you understanding? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
The
So
person
to
here
get
is
an
the
equal data from different varieties, we are using that.
so this is
Balancing.
49.
It's a kind of
Yeah,
balancing.
yeah, 49.5 might be here and 0.55 might be here. And then, the whatever the performance measure you compute based on this, that may not be meaningful. So we are choosing that. No, I want 25 lakhs from positive and 25 lakhs from negative. Are you understanding? Hello?
Yes,
Sir,
sir. Yes.
one question is there.
Yes.
So if we will use Stratify, then there will not be any resampling technique required. Means only Stratify will balance all the data set.
See, again, I am actually addressing the problem.
Okay.
I am addressing the problem of the imbalance. Okay, this stratify what it does, whatever is the proportion is maintained. Okay, suppose whatever is the proportion of the samples are maintained in the category, that proportion will be reflected. It will not exactly get 25 and 25. See, it may happen that, let me give you an extreme case. It may happen
Sir,
that all the data may come from only 149 crore. Are you understanding? It may happen.
Venkat sir.
Yeah, please tell me.
Venkat sir,
Yeah.
I think it follows the principle of stratified random sampling.
It is?
It follows the principle of stratified random sampling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is what I'm
Ah,
trying to convey. I'm
Yeah,
not using
yeah,
random.
exactly. So let me just supplement what you are saying. The principle says there are two types of stratified random sampling. One is proportionate, other is the disproportionate. Am I clear? When you choose the sample basing upon the proportion of the strata size, then it is called proportionate sampling. Irrespective of the size of the strata, equal units are chosen from each population, then it is called disproportionate stratified sampling. I think it follows the same logic here. The same logic is being followed here. Whenever you are using the strata function, we are following the principle of stratified sampling.
Yeah, that, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly whatever you said is true. So whatever is the proportion is available, okay, that proportion will be reflected. Okay, where is this? Okay, I mean, whatever is the proportion is available here in the initial data set, the same proportion will be reflected in the testing data set also. And I'm saying that this data imbalance problem can be addressed. You can do so many things by changing the arguments. What exact value to give 0.2, 0.3, all those things. That we have to do your own homework. Are you understand? Stratify command is available to address the data imbalance problem and also to ensure that the same proportion of the data set from each category can be used in the testing data, is reflected in the testing data. Simply one data or one class having large number of data is not going to dominate the testing data. That is the usefulness of this strata argument. Okay, so let's not spend too much time on this. Yeah, let's go to the other thing. Yeah, so we have to split into the training and testing. So please copy this or copy it and run it in the Google Colab. Please run that. And if you are running out of time, just copy all this command in one go. Control C.
In step 4.
So first let everyone finish step 3. And
Okay,
come to
step 3.
4.
Done, sir.
Okay. So after step 3, you can click on this plus code. Automatically, you will go to step 4. Now training, testing, everything is ready. Okay. All the 4 variables are ready. Till step 3, is it clear to all of you? Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
it's clear.
Okay. Now the step 4 is that it's not compulsory in this case because the data is simple. In general, we apply some pre-processing to the data, and when such pre-processing is normalization. Okay. So, and you can also apply PCA and many things are there. I will not discuss all those things. PCA, principal component analysis, transforming the data. So here what we are doing, once we have this capital X, X1, X2, X3, X4, sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width. What we are doing is that we are computing mean of all these values and also the standard deviation of all these values. And we are transforming all these values. Are you understanding? We are looking at each feature and computing its mean and computing its standard deviation. And the original value is modified as the new value Z equal to capital X minus mu by sigma.
This is standard normal variation.
Standard normal variation. Okay.
Right.
So I am very fond of normal distribution. 1 by sigma root 2 pi to the power of minus half x minus mu by sigma whole square. All of you know it. Minus infinity plus infinity univariate case.
This.
And the sigma is a square is a positive value, sigma also positive.
This is the probability function for normal variate.
Yeah, exactly,
Normal variate.
A standard normal distribution, exactly.
Yes,
And
sir.
just for people who are comfortable with mathematics, from here, x minus mu by sigma, we are simply, you can say we are borrowing it here. Okay. So Z equal to x minus mu by sigma. So we are doing this kind of a transformation. So previously all the values are positive because it is length. Length in centimeter, length or height cannot be negative. But here after doing this, you will observe that some of the values also comes out to be negative. So for every value, we are doing this kind of a transformation. So for future, first feature, I'm computing mu1. computing standard deviation sigma 1, I'm transforming it. Like this, all of them are transformed again in just one go. Okay, and that is this code it is doing. Okay,
Right, sir.
from sklearn.preprocessing, we are importing the standard scalar, standard normalization, whatever you want to call. So please import it, and then after this, once we are importing, and once we import it, we have to create that instance of the class. That is what we are doing here. Standard scalar, we are creating a class, we are creating an object, okay? Instance of the class, that is an object. This is standard scalar. And this one, we are applying it on the training data. So dot fit transform or dot transform. Let's not get confused much about fit transform and all those things. And let's look at the outputs and appreciate what we are getting. So you can copy this command. Step 4, whatever is there. And before that, if you wanted to know the dimension, you can check this train dot shape, which I have discussed in the paint. But let's go to step 4. So normalizing the data. You can copy line by line and everything. Standard scalar is the main thing. We are creating an instance of the class. After that, dot fit xtrain. So we are transforming the data. Okay. So dot fit actually, if you wanted to know, dot fit computes the mean as well as the standard deviation corresponding to every feature. And once we compute the mean and the variance, and that after the transformation, the variables are obtained and stored in xtrain and xtest. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
So if you don't want to understand much, just copy this much. Know that the data has been transformed using that equation z equal to x minus mu by sigma, and the values are stored in xtrain and xtest. Okay, you please copy this code and then execute it.
Sir, xtrain array we got xtrain training data.
Yeah.
But what about the test data?
What about the
Test data, xtest.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, here we are transforming the test data also.
Okay.
In reality, we should not do that. I don't want to talk about it. It's called data smoothing. But just to show you that how it works. So for test data also, you can apply standard scalar and the corresponding mean and sigma. You can use them to transform. Are you understanding?
Yes.
See, the mu and sigma, you can obtain it for only 120 samples. Okay. And for testing data also, you obtain separate mu and sigma, and then simply do the transformation x minus mu by sigma. Are you getting?
Right.
You can do that, and you will get slightly different values. So that is what in reality it has to be done. But here we wanted to know how to run the program and how to transform. So let us use this, and after running these things, just look at the values, xtrain as well as xtest. Look at the values. You will be getting some negative values. They have been changed completely. Can you see that?
Right, sir.
You can see them on my screen, or you can see it on your own screen if you are running it. Xtrain and xtest. Okay. So that is the next step, the normalizing the data. Is it clear? Any query? So again, I am repeating for people who are very curious. Dot fit, what it does, it only computes the mean and the standard deviation and stores the mean and standard deviation. Okay. And dot transform, what it does, using those mean and standard deviation, it applies the transformation and gets the transformed values. Okay. And if you don't want to do them in 2 steps, you can simply, I don't want to do all those things, use fit underscore transform in one go. You can do. You can combine the 2 lines and then use this thing also. It's up to you. So after this, the data has been normalized and transformed. And this is very much helpful in other cases where the input variables have different ranges and they are of different units and many, like there is a diversity in the input features. Here they are more or less same. All the units are in centimeters. Okay. So that is a step 4. Is it clear till step 4?
Yes, sir.
What about others? If you have any queries, if you are facing any problem, please let me know in the chat box. Now let's go to step 5. Okay. Yeah. So now this machine learning field, we have gone through so many models: linear regression, maybe artificial neural networks, or maybe logistic regression, maybe decision trees, random forest. So many classifiers we have gone through. But using scikit-learn, within 2 lines you can run the model. As simple as it. So here I am showing you again very simple and naive, like a lazy learning algorithm, k nearest neighbor. So you can simply call that classification algorithm using this command from sklearn.neighbors, import k neighbors classifier. That's it. You are importing the class, and once you import the class, you have to create an instance of the class, and that is this one. CLF stands for the classifier according to my comfort. Okay, KNN is the k nearest neighbor. So CLF KNN is equal to KNN like whatever you have imported here, that you type, and then in the bracket you can give so many arguments. One fundamental argument, basic argument you need to give is number of neighbors. I hope all of you know k nearest neighbor algorithm, isn't it? So k nearest neighbor algorithm. So I'll give a brief introduction, but before that, please run this thing. So within 2 lines, we are using this k nearest neighbor classification algorithm, and not only that, it's training the model. The whole machine learning, training, learning, that is done using this dot fit command. Dot fit. After creating an instance of the class, okay, CLF KNN, after creating an instance of this classifier, what we do simply is dot fit, and then give data, X-train and then Y-train. The simple line, single line, does the training part. Are you understanding? Training the model, the learning the model. So all that learning training is happening in just this one single line. CLF KNN dot fit, X underscore train, comma Y underscore train. It is the training the model. Is it clear? All of you please execute it. And
Yes, sir, we are executing it.
okay. And if you can just copy the
But sir,
code.
after giving the coding for KNN classifier, I try to run it, but there is no output. It's not showing.
No, there won't be any output. The output will come when we print something or when we look at the accuracy. Just hold on for a while. The outputs will come.
Okay.
Okay. So this is dot fit, X-train and Y-train. Okay. So
Okay.
after training the model, so how many of you are not aware of k nearest neighbor? Please tell me. How many of you are not aware of k nearest neighbor algorithm? See, k nearest neighbor algorithm, what it simply does, when a new sample comes, it simply computes the Euclidean distance between the new sample and all the samples in the data set, and it puts all the samples in the ascending order of the distance. Okay. In other words, it will simply look at the k closest points to the data set. Are you understanding? Maybe philosophically, let me tell you the quotation. Tell me your friends, I will tell what you are. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. Okay?
Yes.
Tell me your friends, I will tell what you are. The same ideology is followed in the k nearest neighbor as well. So when new sample comes, I look at its closest sample points and look at its class category or the label. Okay? And based on the proportion, whichever is the majority, I will say that this flower or this point belongs to that category. That's it. Is it clear?
Right.
I look at its closest points and look at their labels. And if they belong to one category, most of them belong to a particular category, then I will blindly classify that this point also belongs to that category. That's it. That is the k nearest neighbor classifier. So, and here we are simply importing that classifier, creating an instance of the class, and then this is dot fit. We are training the model. So please run these 3 lines of code. And here I have already shared. You can copy this. In case of KNN classifier, I have already given you 5 steps, 5, 6, 7, and 7 in one go. Hello?
Yes, sir.
You can copy all these 3 things in one go. and then run them also, and we will discuss them. Or you can copy only the step 5. Let me copy only step 5. Control C, Control V, and then run it. Okay. So we run this step 5. Is it clear? After that, let me explain it. Once we train the model is trained. It has got all the information, enough strength, okay, to classify a new feature, new sample point. Okay. Now we are going to test it on the testing data set. Very standard stuff. And for that, we are going to use the same classifier CLF-KNN dot predict. We are going to predict what category the testing data belongs to. And we are going to cross-check it with the information we already have. For all the testing data, we already know the actual label. Okay, we are going to cross-check with our prediction, and that's what gives us the accuracy. Is it clear? Testing the model using the same classifier. We are going to use this predict command, dot predict, and then the testing data you can give as an argument, and then those values will be stored in this variable. Same thing you can copy from here also. Testing the model. Just copy these things, Control C, Control V, and then just do it. We are testing the model. And if you wanted to know what these values are, white, KNN, pre-RED test, Control C, Control V, just check, print out the values, shift and enter. These are the predictions by the model. Are you understanding? All of you? At least half of you? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So we are simply importing one classifier, and this command is the most important and the simplest and the basic command. Okay? Dot fit. We are fitting our input X train with the Y train.
Sir, in order to print the array like prediction of train data, we need to write the command print.
You can write the print option. Here in Google Colab, even if you do not write the print option also, it will give.
But it is not showing.
It will show. You click on shift and enter. You click on shift and
yes.
enter, or click on the play button. And before that, you run the step 6. You have to run step 6. Then only it will show. What about others? Can you please type in the chat box how many of you are following? Only a couple of 2 to 3 participants are responding. What about others? Are you following? Please type in the chat box. How many of you are following? How many of you are following? Please.
It is not showing any output, sir. Exactly. After step 6, no output is there.
See, after step 6, you have to. I am running it again. Can you check it? Please look at the screen. See,
yes.
after step 6, you have to write this YKNN PRA test again in the next cell, and then enter it.
Okay.
You have to write it, or you can write print also.
Okay.
If you want, you can write. The same thing will come.
Okay.
In a much slightly better way. This is how it will come.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this is the testing model.
1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Sir, one question I have. In step 6, these 2 variables, YKN pred underscore test, another one is prediction on training, testing data and training data. In step 6, these 2 variables and 2 functions are used, CLF-KNN.predict on X-test and Y-train. So train data is already there. So we have, we know what would be the output. Okay, so in 2 cases, we have to feed the train data and test data separately, and we have to predict Y for test data and train data separately.
See, actually, like this becomes more clear and more apparent when we look into other classification algorithms, classification algorithms. See, what is happening? Very simple. Like for students, what we do in class, we teach something, and we give some more in the test. Now we are asking in the class how much they have learned. Forget about the exam paper, final exam paper. Whatever is discussed in the class, are they able to understand it or not?
Yes,
So
sir.
similarly, the model also, whatever is discussed, whatever is given to it, is it able to classify it properly or not? Are you understanding?
Yeah.
Whatever is the data on which it is trained, forget about unseen data, the testing data. Is it really predicting well or not? That I would like to know. Logically, if it performs well on the training data, only then it is supposed to perform on the testing data.
Okay. And in case of accuracy, KNN underscore SCC underscore test and KNN underscore SCC underscore train, these two are giving the same value.
See, here our data is extremely simple, 150 clovers, and the features are 4. So we are able to get higher accuracy. Okay. Now, if you are very much curious, same commands you can run for the logistic regression. If you are aware of, you can simply run them. You will see that they will give slightly different accuracies. If you
Okay.
can see my screen, testing accuracy from logistic regression model is 93, training accuracy is 97.5.
But
And
sir,
here, please tell me.
excuse me, sir. The same data set, the same coding we are using. In your case, we got the testing accuracy 93% and training accuracy 97%. But my output shows it is testing accuracy 96 and training accuracy 95. How does it happen?
See, very good question. As I told you, I mean, sorry, when we are doing this training and testing, okay, sorry,
Right, sir.
splitting the data into training data and testing data,
Right, sir.
automatically there is lots of shuffling happens every time.
Okay, reshuffling happens.
Reshuffling happens internally,
Okay,
and
okay.
because of that, the data is different. So there will be definitely some differences in the accuracy.
Okay, okay.
And not only that, this random function, random number generation, happens at different at different levels. At
Right.
algorithmic level also it may happen.
Okay.
I don't want to
If
go
we
to the
if we rerun the same program again, then again we may have some different values in terms
yeah,
of
it may happen.
accuracy and
Actually, see,
training accuracy.
suppose you take about neural networks. I don't want to discuss them, but still,
Yes,
you
yes.
talk about neural networks.
Right.
Depending on how we initialize the weights and bias values, okay, then the accuracy depends on those things, isn't it?
Right, sir.
In case of neural networks, how do you initialize the bias values and weight values, and then how the back propagation is going to continue those things. Your accuracy and the final weights and biases will be different. So similarly, lots of like random this number generation happens at different levels. It happens at the data level. It happens at the algorithmic level. Okay, so those things are there all the time. Okay, and okay, that is the reason we are getting different values. And now coming to the last step, there is nothing like last step. Till this now, we can successfully say that yes, I have trained one model. We just now need to print the values. That's it. Print the accuracies. So I think all of you have already done it. Some most of you. From sklearn.metrics. Again, in sklearn everything is available. We're just going to copy it. Okay. We're going to use this accuracy score. You simply take this thing, and then what is the accuracy of the test data and the training data we are going to copy, and
Yes.
then print them. That's it. Okay, so accuracy. After this, you can copy this command, print whatever I have shared. You can copy it, and then some values will be coming. Okay, not here, here.
Yes.
So you can print those values. Okay, I haven't printed, or you can print it. You can simply run them. Suppose this is here, right? Let me run step 7. Step 7, Control C, and then Control V. Okay, so we are running. If you wanted to know its accuracy, simply run it. Simply Control C and Control V. Print the value. It will tell you the value. Hello.
Yes.
Accuracy of testing. You simply print that value. Maybe it will be giving 0.9. Can you see this here on my
Right.
screen? Accuracy, it is showing 0.9. Training accuracy, hopefully it will be
Print.
actually print is not required in Google Colab. Okay. In other IDEs, it is required. In most of the other IDEs, it is 0.975.
Right.
Okay.
Individually, you can give the command, and individually you can get the accuracy individually
give in
or
one line
at a
also.
time.
You
In
can
one
give
time
it.
also we can
You
do.
can give at a time. Those are
At a time
programming
also we can
aspects.
have.
You can get, not an issue.
Yes.
You can just using comma you can get.
Right.
Suppose
Sir.
here only comma. Let me try. It should work. Very simple things. Yeah, it is coming. It will come.
It will
0.9
come.
and
It will come.
0.975.
In my case, it has come together.
Okay, anyhow. So this is how you take the data. Although whatever we have done is extremely simple. No
Yes,
matter
yes,
whoever
sir.
does, small
Yes.
data, big data, NASA, or even anywhere, this is the very fundamental steps, and everyone has to follow these
Yes,
steps.
yes.
Now, after running this model, okay, so you can say, I haven't touched about the logistic regression because of lack of time and the time constraint. Okay,
Yes.
the same thing we can do for logistic regression. Now, after running these 6 to 7 lines, I mean 7 blocks, I mean not lines, 7 blocks, 7 steps, you can successfully say that I have trained a machine learning model, or I have designed a classifier. It has got some accuracy. You can say in different ways. So again, if you have used logistic regression, I would like to discuss coefficient, intercept, many things. I hope you have one more session coming. Okay, it is 4:39 already, 3:10 to 4:30. So we haven't discussed the logistic function, linear regression, logistic function. So I would like to know, I think my time is up. Let me talk to sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. When is the next session is going to start?
Hello.
Hello, hello, sir. When is the next session is going to start, sir? I think my time is, isn't it?
Today's next session. Today, this is the last session.
Oh, today this is the last session. Okay,
Yes,
that is
yes.
clear. Fine then. So anybody, if you have any query or if you want me to say something or continue something, then I will discuss. How can we plot confusion charts? So how can we plot? So directly I will check in the Google and I will show you. See, confusion chart plotting on pandas you can get directly. Recently, confusion matrix you can plot directly. It is directly available. You just need to import it again. Nothing to do much. I'll show you. Just hold on for a while. Where is that? See, this is the confusion matrix, right? Plotting is a different thing, but let's talk about matrix. Right now, in the last line, we have imported from sklearn.metrics. We have imported accuracy. If you just look into it, where is that? From sklearn.metrics, import accuracy score. We have imported. Similarly, you will simply import confusion matrix. That's it. You will import the confusion matrix. You know true and prediction. Give it. You will get the matrix. That's it. 2 lines. Is it clear? Or you want me to plot it right now? From sklearn.matrix, let me try it here. Matrix import confusion matrix. Within 2 lines, you can do it.
Is it this confusion matrix command is available in your file?
On my side, what do you mean by my side?
I mean, your introduction collab file which you have shared.
No, it is not available. It is just 2 lines. You can check it right now and then from sklearn.matrix import confusion matrix. After that, simply confusion matrix. Just wait. Same. Only 1 line, not even 2 lines.
sklearn matrix
Import confusion matrix. And confusion matrix, we have to give the true and the prediction. What is our true value? Our true value is the y test. Y underscore test is my true value. Okay?
Sir, 1 minute.
Again. And y prediction is yknn, just one second, yknn PRDD test. Controls. Just 2 lines. And the matrix should come. It will come. Just wait.
From sklearn matrix.
Some mistake I have done. What is that mistake? That yknn. Copying mistake. Okay. This is how you will get the actual values you want. And how these values can be plotted in a beautiful way with different colors and shades that you have to learn on your own using Matplotlib. And another library is available called Seaborn. Seaborn. Seaborn library or Matplotlib or even Pandas. You can use these three things and you should be able to plot a very good figure. With the 2 lines, you can get the confusion matrix. Any other queries?
So we are doing it. Please give us 1 minute.
Okay, sorry.
So confusion underscore matrix. If there will be any syntax error, then
Yeah, it will show. It will show error.
confusion matrix white test.
Any other comments? Okay, many people are asking question. Thank you. Okay,
One
thank you very much.
minute, sir. 1 minute, sir.
No, because I'm not saying anything, sir. I'm looking at the chart only.
We are still writing.
Sir, can you share your the screen again?
The Sheen has okay.
Yes, sir. Please share your screen.
Yes.
We are referring your screen only.
Okay.
White test KNN. White test KNN.
In the meantime, let me tell, they're asking, see
Yes,
here we have used the already available data set. So they're asking how we can import a separate data set
White test
and analyze.
KNN.
Okay, that actually, suppose in case of images or any other data set, in general, you have to load the data into Google Drive. From Google Drive, it is directly like, just hold on. From Google Drive, you can directly import the data to the Google Colab, and from there you can access it. Just 1 second. Okay, I'll show it on the screen. This is an extremely important step. And in introduction to Google Colab also, there is already clear description how to load the data set from your own system. Okay, I'll show that. But one thing is sure, you have to import into the easily. The easiest way is that you have to store it in the Google Drive. From the Google Drive, you can import it directly to the Google Colab, and from there, all the processing can be done. Is it done? Everybody on the screen?
Yes.
Actually, I just want to. If you are entering to Colab for the first time, they will show some links or getting started with Google Colab. There, everything will be there. This question will be addressed. Yeah. Please look into here. Colab.research.google.com. If you look into it, so there are on the left hand side table of contents, and then if you click on the getting started, okay. Just wait. I just want to show you. Getting started, and then here. Yeah, please. You click on getting started, and if you scroll down a bit, this question is addressed and it is important.
Sir, one question. Here, confusion matrix that we are getting is 3 by 3. And what we have learned today morning session and earlier session, it's 2 by 2. True positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. So how it becomes 3 by 3?
See, we have 3 classes, and I think it is predicting whether we have 3 classes, right? So
Yes.
whether each sample is belonging to that category or not. That is what we are getting.
Okay.
Okay. So I have to look into it, but that should be the way. And those are not a serious aspect. Just let me answer this question. Working with data. Somebody who has raised this question, loading data, Drive, Sheets, and Google Cloud storage. So go to this Google colab.research.google.com. The getting started, you have this working with the data. This is the exact. Can you see this? Local file system, Google Drive, mounting Google Drive locally. So this is the exact commands that you are going to use if you are uploading file from your local file system. Hello?
Yes,
Whoever
sir.
has answered this question, can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the getting started, you have so many links, and most of your questions will be addressed there. And this is extremely important. Thank you for asking this question. How to load the data, and many people face problem here. First, you have to go to the drive, and from there, you have to import it. Google Drive. You have to mount the drive. Many things are there. Any other queries? Okay. In MATLAB, if you want to see the code of an inbuilt function, we use command like open. How can we see the code of these commands in Python? Very good question. The code of inbuilt functions. Very good question. Simply by question mark, you can get to know. Maybe I should have told you. Suppose I am importing confusion matrix, right? What I will do here, confusion matrix, and then a question mark, and then a question mark, and then shift and enter. All of you are listening? And then a question mark, shift and enter. Help will come on the right hand side. Hello?
Yes, sir.
If you wanted to know that information, that after importing not only confusion matrix, anything, just a question mark and then shift and enter, you will get all the information. Like in MATLAB, the help documentation. There is no doubt that MATLAB documentation is much better. Okay, so but still, this is similar information you will get here as well. So that question is addressed. Any other question? We have imported readily available XY data format. Can you please tell you how to get those matrix from images? From images, you have to read the images using some library, say OpenCV. From OpenCV, you have to read an image, okay, in the NumPy matrix, and now you will work on with the matrix some number values, and that we will do in the tomorrow's session. And we may not load images directly. We will simply take the matrices from the Keras data sets, okay. Apart from the, with respect to the student interest, there is nothing like a student interest, okay. I mean, that's very vague, close. I have already shown you the link, right? There are so many data sets available. I'm giving this link also in the chat box. Okay, many data sets are available in the Keras. Iris plan data set. MNIST data set, which we'll be discussing tomorrow, is also very standard. It is available here. It is available in the Keras data set. It is available in everywhere. Diabetes data set. OCR, optical recognition of handed images data set. Okay. So yeah, this is the data set that we are going to discuss tomorrow. Mostly. Yeah. Similar data set and handwritten digits. Okay. So many data sets are available. Bind recognition data sets. So I'm not an expert in machine learning or in that community. I use those algorithms. So I work on this corrosion inspection. My PhD work is on inspection of corrosion images, okay, and defining if a pipeline is rusted or not. Although I work on few other things, but yeah. Any other queries? Please ask quickly.
Sir, one thing. So to generate the confusion matrix, I'm still struggling. It's not coming. Some syntax error it is showing. If you can allow me, I can share my screen so that we can. It will take only 1 minute.
Yeah, you can. Okay, I think I need to hide my. Can you just look into my screen? What is the
Sure.
error? Can you tell me?
I don't understand exactly the same command I typed in the command box.
Okay, I am hiding my screen. You can share your screen. Okay.
With your permission.
No, I think I should stop sharing. Okay. You can share your screen. Yeah, you may share your screen.
Can you see this? Several
Yeah.
times.
Yes,
Where is the from sklearn matrix import?
See, you are writing everything in the one line. Confusion matrix. After that, y test y. Confusion matrix. After that, you have to type in the second line. Why are you writing that in the same line?
Okay, from sklearn matrix import.
See, you just please look into my screen. Let me share my screen again.
Okay, sir. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Please stop sharing your screen.
Yes.
You are putting everything in the one line. Okay.
Okay.
So that is the mistake you have made, sir. Your entire screen. Let me share it. See, first write this line from sklearn.matrix import confusion matrix.
Not being shared. Your screen is not shared.
No, I have shared it.
Yes, now it is shared. You also have written, na? You also have written in the same line.
No. I have written. Where is the same line? First you confusion matrix. Run that. In the next line, confusion matrix. Okay. In the parentheses, give y test comma. You have combined both the lines. That should not be the way.
Okay,
First
okay,
this line, in
okay.
the second line you have to type this.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir, please continue. I'm doing it.
Yeah, any other questions? To find out the surface roughness value of a machine surface, usually find out by capturing image and analyzing with histogram. In MATLAB, is any possibility in Python? See, whether it's in Python or MATLAB, they are the same. Okay, so we need to know the appropriate steps. Possibility, yes, in Python everything is possible. Especially this kind of surface roughness, capturing image. Great things are being done in Python, OpenCV, all those things. Capturing an image and finding the surface roughness with respect to putting some reference and image processing. So that's a very standard stuff, and it is possible in Python, no doubt about that. But you should know how it will be done and all those things. Like possibility is there. See, in MATLAB, you already have so many libraries, all these things in one go. Okay, but in Python, you have to import them and you should make yourself comfortable. And the transformation is worth. It is always good if you transform yourself slowly from MATLAB to Python. It will be definitely helpful. Any other queries? So other participants, so I won't be speaking anything technical now. Student participants, you have any queries, you may ask. And other participants, they may leave, and tomorrow the first session, like I'll be discussing the deep learning or
So tomorrow morning also you are having one session?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow morning also I'll be having one session. So there also I will discuss neural networks, artificial neural networks, how to make a model.
Okay.
Any other queries, please ask. And all of you, please make yourself familiar with Keras. What is Keras and what is model and what is layer? Small things, please make yourself comfortable so that then tomorrow session also will be small.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
Sir, actually, this Colab is actually online version, right?
Yeah.
And here, what we know that all are available, but many times while running, sometimes it says that this file is this library is missing. Why it
Yeah,
gives
very
it?
good question.
Cannot take it automatically.
See.
Actually,
Only
in
few things which are
Jupyter
standard.
and Spider, we have to do it manually. And what I know that in Colab it takes it automatically, but still sometimes here we have to give this people install.
Yeah, please,
But
ma'am, I
why
understand.
so?
Not why. See, there are thousands of maybe lakhs of libraries available, and Google cannot put everything in their server like that. Okay, whatever the most people use, they are putting it freely available, and we should be grateful to that. If you want to install something, we can just install using this command, right? Exclamation pip install, say OpenCV, or even other Visual Keras. Like this, you can install it in one line. It is done. It's fine. Visual Keras or for
That
visualizing
means
your
all
architectures.
are not available. All libraries are
All
not available. Many things we have to install manually.
Many things you have to install, and it will clearly show no module named not OpenCV, no module named Visual Keras, or no module named Fuzzy Logic. Like it will show clearly that will come into picture.
Okay.
It was really very interesting session, sir. And let's
Thank
hope.
you.
Yeah, we could learn a lot of things.
Only sir, things go slowly. We understand.
Yeah, exactly, ma'am.
Otherwise, it goes above head.
It needs lots. It needs lot of practice actually.
No, actually,
1
what
hour.
I thought, sorry,
Yeah,
sir,
1
what I
hour
thought
session is not sufficient actually.
Yeah, no. What I thought is that I think so many sessions have been already conducted, and Python as maybe
Yes.
R. I thought you were already acquainted with those things, and you may get bored. So that is why I was
We'll request, sir. We'll request Trupti sir to get your contact number and all that, so that we can
Yeah,
get
sure,
in
sure.
touch
Like
with
I
you.
don't mind.
Yes, sir. I will provide that.
Yeah, sir.
And the same thing, the purpose of this particular session, I mean, having this session and tomorrow's morning session, the
Right.
objective is to make all the participants to write at least the
We could learn something. We all could learn
the
something.
familiar
Exactly, sir.
tools that we are using.
Yeah,
So this session and tomorrow also will be discussing about designing a DNN, means the deep neural network for image classification, and he will be using Keras. So what Sainath was suggesting, prior to that, you please go through means the whatever he discussed today. Those things you can practice, and if you have any problem or any query, you can
Yes.
start tomorrow's session from those queries.
Right.
Then you can move forward for that deep neural network for image classification. And also, I would suggest prior to that, you just Google about Keras. Try to
Right.
know about the fundamental things. What is Keras?
Keras will be discussed tomorrow, next morning class.
Today we use this scikit-learn. So tomorrow we'll be using Keras.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so let us wind up the session here. Thank you, Sainath, and we look forward to see you tomorrow. Can I ask the participants to switch on their camera so that we can have a photograph?
Sure, sir.
Okay, so as per the facilities of Google Meet, we can have maximum 50 participants at a time. So others, those who are not coming in this picture, please do not mind. They are included in the 26 others. Okay, so okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, let us meet tomorrow. Please join by 9:30. As you know, tomorrow is the last day of this 5 days online FTP. So we'll be
Sure.
starting sharp by 9:30. We have 3 technical session and 1 session related to this yoga and mental health. So that is a compulsory session. As per AICT, we need to have a particular session on that as well. So please stick to the timings, and few participants they requested to start the examination, that is the quiz test at 4 o'clock. So we'll be doing that. Means during the yoga session, we'll share the quiz test link. Okay, but the timing, the end timing means timing to the final time to submit the quiz, it will be around 8 p.m. evening. Okay.
Okay.
So no
Sir?
need to worry. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I have one special request to you that actually our institutes are open nowadays, so it's taking much more time to travel. So can you please taking the submission time?
Means beyond 8 p.m. na?
Yeah, it is as you told, it is 8 p.m. So can you
Okay,
please
what time will be suitable to you, madam?
Yeah, at least 10 p.m. up to 10 p.m.
Okay, I will inform you tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Trupti, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before we close for the day, so I just, on behalf of every participant, just a query comes to my mind. Sir, what would be the pattern of test? How many questions? What will be the duration? Duration, as you said, it will be open up to.
See, actually,
just prior information so that mentally will be prepared.
Yes. There will be minimum of for today. I can say you there will be minimum of 30 questions, maximum of 40. Okay. As per their guidelines, we need to have a stipulated time, means 30 minutes,
sir.
40 minutes, like that. But we are flexible with that. We have decided today. We have decided to extend it up to 8 p.m. But as per the request of few other participants, we'll try to extend it up to 10 p.m. Okay.
Link will be shared around 4. Link will be
Minimum
shared
of 30, maximum of 40 questions.
40 questions. Okay. All questions are compulsory.
Yes, all are compulsory.
And link will be shared around 4 p.m.
Link will be shared exactly at 4 p.m. After the end of third session,
Technical session.
the link will be provided, and after the session, that is the mental health and yoga session, we will have a valedictory session. Okay,
Right,
so please do join for that session also.
Right, sir.
Okay, tomorrow morning I will be informing about means how many questions will be there and what will be the end time of the test.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let us stop here. Thank you, and see you tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.